Can you give me some examples? Maybe can we talk about some examples of like organizations that are implementing these changes, becoming pandemic ready?
Yeah, I mean, can I go to a different vertical, or do you want me to talk about the two we just went to?
I mean, you can talk about whatever you. I'm learning from you, my man. So
All right. I think one of the coolest, well, not coolest, one of the biggest changes that I'm seeing is pandemic ready. It's kind of crazy because they're not even open yet, right? They're still in lockdown and furlough. And I would say that would be the public spaces, right? Arenas, convention centers, and what I'm seeing them doing right now, and we've been working on quite a few projects is, essentially it looks like a metal detector that you walk through, does temperature scans, it pulls air samples out, it can tell your heartbeat, and all of this information gets relayed back in, and so you start thinking, yeah, okay, that makes sense, right? Like if I can prevent, somebody with COVID-20 or COVID-21 or whatever the next revision of it is, or I can be a little bit smarter, I can be a little bit more intelligent to make sure that the people that are coming to my establishment or the people that work for me are protected and safe, and are put in the best possible scenario they can be.
So it sounds as a technology community that we have to support our local communities, right? And you're bringing up some examples of kind of these solutions that you've put together, and it sounds like it's a conglomerate of different technologies coming together to solve a problem. But how do you see our industry providing this type of support? What are some other examples out there?
I think one thing I can take that, in what John is doing with his team. One of the things that I observed right out of the gate and back in the March, April, May timeframe was, okay, the hospitality industry certainly took a hit because there's no more business travel and there's certainly no tourist travel happening. And so those hotels, while they furloughed a lot of employees, they also became temporary healthcare facilities for testing for COVID patients or even treating COVID patients. So when you start talking about arenas and parking lots and areas that are public spaces like John has been talking about, the Army Corps of Engineers came out right out of the gate with RFPs for partners that were deploying Wi-Fi and networking gear and the structured cabling that we're talking about today in that hotel. They now are repurposing that infrastructure or even adding on to that infrastructure to be able to connect within that parking lot of that hotel where a temporary tent and doctors and nurses can come and treat patients. And so just seeing that's the spirit of America. Get it done, support each other, support the local community. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. So it was pretty cool to see things like that happen.
that's actually a pretty topical example. Certainly where I am, there's a lot of messaging happening right now. ICUs are full. Situation is not great, folks. We need to keep this under control, right? So hearing about novel solutions like that is important. It adds capacity, right? But in both of those examples, John's example earlier about the stadiums with the all-in-one magic detector thing, and then which is the official name, I understand. And then of course, what we're doing in temporary facilities, that all requires a lot of bandwidth, right?
Yeah,
You're adding a lot.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, what else is there? I mean, John, I think we were chatting earlier and just offhand, you mentioned a kind of an interesting solution that I think is kind of cool. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. So I've been involved in a couple projects now. Just to give you the whole backstory of it. One of the projects that I was involved with was a school. It was a K-8 school. And the campus of the school was very interesting. It was a new kind of idea of a school. So the school is broken up into multiple buildings, and they're government buildings. So you have a city museum, you have an arts institute, you have all of these arts and science, and so, but you have to go from building to building to building to building. Now, if you remember, I mentioned that it was a K-8 school. So imagine one teacher having, 30 kindergartners trying to wrangle them from building to building. We did see some potential problems with that. You're crossing streets and, 2 eyes and 30 kids is not an easy thing.
Right.
So we got heavy into Bluetooth and Zigbee and doing tracing of these students. So we could immediately set up geo fences of if a student was to step off the crosswalk, we would have a notification sent out where we could go and talk to Joey or Tommy or Susie. Or if they breached that field and we knew that they breached the secondary field, so the kid was on the run or, got taken, who knows? But, we wanted to know where those, for lack of a better term, assets were, right? We needed to know where all of those students and people and be able to track and know exactly where in the campus they were. Billy's mom calls and she needs to come get him immediately. We know exactly where Billy's at. So I kind of took that knowledge and we've put together a kind of a pilot in the construction industry of doing contact tracing with the same thing. So essentially what we do is we set up a wireless mesh network, right? With 5 gigahertz, 2.4 and the rest of it. All of the access points are Zigbee and BLE enabled. And that's actually the information that we're going after. All the access points are battery powered and recharged on solar. So we don't have to worry about getting power to these locations to make this all form and function. And so with the construction site, one of the worries and woes that we have in construction site is who's coming into the site, where are they on the site, and who do they get near or anything else. And so what we're doing is we're issuing badges, RFID badges, a little bit bigger than a credit card to the construction worker. And from there, we model and map exactly where that construction worker has been in the building. And so now we can take all of that information and we know if somebody came down with COVID, we can kind of pinpoint the time framing and we can come back in and we can say to said construction worker, hey, you need to quarantine for 14 days. We've had, a confirmed case of COVID. It was somebody that came in within 3 feet of you and worked in the same room for 32 minutes. I mean, we can pinpoint all of this analytical data and get ahead of it. We're using technology to try to not be big brother contact tracing. I don't want an app on my cell phone, right? Type thing. I'm kind of one of those conspiracy theorists myself. But I'll take a card and an RFID card. We use them swipe badges to get indoors all the time. And I'm happy to have them trace me around, and I would feel protected as a construction worker if I had faster, more intelligent information than I think I was in this area.
I feel like that's an example though. Like, so first off, that's really cool. Like just to geek out for a sec, that's pretty cool. But like, think of the applications for a similar type of deployment across multiple industries, right? Like the benefits in construction are huge. Imagine what that would be in hospitality, right?
Absolutely.
Well, imagine what that would be if you installed it at my house and I could track where my kids are. I wouldn't have to watch them anymore.
I don't make
that already, Chris.
I don't really make or understand kids' jokes because I'm a dink. So